What's going on, guys? Kalipus Tech here, coming back at you with another video. So it looks like some of the specs for the Motorola Moto G Power 2022 just got leaked. So in this video, we're going to talk about it. Now, I did get this info from an article on GSM Arena. So in case you want to see the article for yourself, I will be leaving the link in the video description. But I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the specs and what we know so far. So let's get started. So first things first, this is what the phone is supposed to look like. Now, I like this look a lot. It's a big improvement in my opinion from the last one. First of all, we got the same hole punch front facing camera we got on the Moto G Power 2021, but this time, instead of being off to the side that looked a little bit weird, it's right in the center and it looks really clean. It also has a nice looking material with a good texture to it. I really wasn't a fan of the silver on the Moto G Power 2021. It just looked a little tacky and a little cheap to me, but this one looks really nice, and so does the camera setup. We got a triple camera setup again, and this time instead of being an awkward square in the middle of the phone, it's in a line, and I know this is a little thing, but it looks really nice. And it looks like we're getting a fingerprint scanner on the rear of the phone this time instead of on the power key. Now, I really don't have an opinion about this. I like all fingerprint scanners. I mean, I guess the fingerprint scanner in the display is the coolest, but in terms of practicality, it really doesn't make a whole lot of a difference. This phone is supposed to have a 6.5-inch 720p IPS display, pretty standard for a phone at this level. I mean, you can't really get more standard than that. But the interesting thing about the Moto G Power 2022 is it's supposed to have a 90 Hz refresh rate. And in case you don't know what that means, basically the movement on the screen is going to be a little bit faster and smoother than the movement on the screen of a standard 60 Hz display. Now, this isn't going to be a game changer, but it is pretty interesting that they're putting a 90 Hz refresh rate on this phone, but I'm definitely not complaining at all. For the processor, it's supposed to have a MediaTek Helio G37 with 4GB of RAM. I don't really have high expectations for that in terms of processing power, but we'll see. And 64GB of internal storage with microSD card expansion, of course. Now, if I can remember right, there was a variant of the last Moto G Power, the one released in 2021, that only had 32GB, which was pretty low. In this day and age, going into 2022, I really think 64GB should be a minimum for internal storage. Sure, you can use a microSD card, but it's not as convenient. I would personally rather have more storage on the phone, so I'm glad to see that Motorola is doing that, or at least according to the leak they are. There could always be a different carrier version that might have less storage. That would be too bad, but it looks like we're getting just a 64GB version, so overall that's pretty good. For the camera, it looks like we're getting a 50 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel depth sensor, and then for the selfie camera in the front, it's going to be 8 megapixels. But hold on, this render shows 3 cameras and I only see specs for 2. Come on, Motorola, please tell me you're bringing back the ultra-wide camera. I don't think anyone cares about the macro camera. The ultra-wide camera is so much more useful. Yeah, unfortunately, one of the older Moto G Powers did actually have an ultra-wide camera, but they took that feature away. So I'm really hoping that they bring it back with the Moto G Power 2022, but we'll see. Overall, in terms of actual performance, this camera is probably going to be able to compete with the average Samsung phone, but as usual, it's probably not going to be any better than that. Now, for the rest of the specs we got here, I probably could have guessed this without even looking at the leak. We're going to have a 5000 milliamp hour battery that supports 10-watt fast charging. Pretty predictable there. Like I said before, the fingerprint scanner is going to be on the back, which you can see on the render. And then there's going to be a 3.5mm headphone jack. Now, I would have taken the headphone jack as a given, since pretty much every budget smartphone these days has a headphone jack still. But then I saw in another leak that the Samsung Galaxy A53 might not have a headphone jack. This is pretty interesting. It might be a sign of manufacturers starting to slowly do away with headphone jacks in general. But for now, at least we know the Moto G Power 2022 will in fact have a headphone jack. So that's good at least, because I know a lot of people still like to use them. But that's what we currently know about the Motorola Moto G Power 2022. I don't think it's going to be a huge change from last year's model, but we're at least going to see a couple solid upgrades here. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely let me know in the comments what you think about this phone. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think you're going to buy one when it comes out? And again, if you want to see the full article where I got the information about the leak, definitely check out the link in the video description. But that's it for this video. As always, I will see you guys in the next one.